Afrodescendant Nation. Welcome to the National Reparations Boycott Teach-In live stream. I'll be your host for the time being. We have a power pack lineup of experienced reparations activists who are seriously doing the work 24 hours a day. It's been a hot summer and we're going into an election season where we do need to be dialed in and agitate for reparations and self determination. We are the Afro Descendant Nation. We can be found at Afrodescendant.org. We are an umbrella organization who have been doing 30 years of work with the Honorable Silas Muhammad in the international arena for human rights, self determination, and reparations for Afro descendants throughout the slavery diaspora. This is lineage based on those who have a specific experience with and a history of people who have lost their culture. So again, I'm your host, Brother Shahid Ali. I can be found throughout as Afro Descendant Ali. And we do have some people here. Brother Rashad Singleton, for one, president of the National Reparations League. Strong brother. You go to all of his social media pages, but I know he will go into all of that. Brother has been on it for a long time now. This is a serious young brother. We also have brother Nick Muhammad out of St. Paul, the Twin Cities in Minnesota, St. Paul and Minneapolis. Brother has done some strong national boycotts or local boycotts rather. Brother has experience. We should be having our attorney, conductor of the Afro Descendant Nation and the reparations movement, Malik Z. Shabazz, who has a 30-year track record of activism and working on behalf of black people. We also have the viral brother, Hawk Newsom of Black Lives Matter, Greater New York, co-founder, who will also be on the call. These are serious people. They will bring information, education, and inspiration, encouraging everyone, giving everyone insight into how you can become active in this movement. Because right now we are in the face of some serious times here in America. Myself, I'm on the continent of Africa, but we do have issues in the United States of America. So shout out to all of the Afro descendants in the chat and on the live stream. Send this to your family. Send this to everyone. Share this with your networks. This promises to be power packed. So what we will do, I will not go on any further, but I will bring on brother Rashad Singleton, who is one of the co-authors of the reparations boycott. There with attorney Malik Z. Shabazz. They have done some great work all over the country. So please, brother Rashad, you can go. I'll hand it off to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much. Grateful for you, family. Um, First, giving honor to the Most High and Shire for allowing us to live another day, to fight another day. Giving honor to the Honorable Silas Muhammad. I met this wise gentleman earlier this year, and it just, when you meet people from that generation who's seen so much, who's done so much, it just puts you in a humble state. For him to look at me and to give me words of encouragement, I can't put it into words. So I'm so grateful for the Afro Descendant Nation, my new family, who I truly appreciate and love building with every time we get together, because I know when I get together with my Afro Descendant Nation, we're gonna be talking about some Black power. So it's just always grateful to be in the room and grateful to be in the space. Family, let's cut straight to the chase. We are here to talk about reparations. We are here to talk about solutions to get reparations. Now, I've been saying this for about 10 years. white people only care about two things: loss of life and loss of property. Loss of life and loss of profit. Now, we're not going to be advocating for violence here this evening, but we will be telling you how you should be spending your Black dollars. Brothers and sisters, you cannot reward a person for harming you. Let me say that again. You can't reward people for harming you. Spending your money with people and businesses and organizations that don't give a damn about your reparations is Stockholm Syndrome. We have to stop. We only have to look at our ancestors in the 60s. They shut down Birmingham, Alabama just by stop riding buses. They didn't have to flip over a car. They didn't have to shoot nobody. They might have been willing, but they just had to stop riding the buses. And they were united about it. It wasn't like today where we want to boycott something, then you have some tap dancing celebrity riding the bus the next day. We want to boycott Gucci. We have a tap dancing Negro wearing a Gucci sweater the next day just to be funny. They think it's a game. Well, unfortunately, for the white supremacy system, some of us ain't playing. We're not here to play a game. We're here to take back what's ours. Me and brother Malisha Bass was in Washington, D.C. We boycotted Wells Fargo. And as we was mentioning before the show, we watched the brother pull $20,000 out his bank account after being educated. Because once you're educated Black man, once you're educated Black woman, then you have to do better. It only takes one time for you to put your hand in fire to know it's hot. It only takes you to understand a few of information that they did, that they would literally use our people as collateral. Schools involved, everybody, North Carolina this, North Carolina that. They didn't tell you that the land to get North Carolina was given to them by a slave master. They left that part out. University of Georgia, go Bulldogs this, go Bulldogs that. They didn't tell you slaves built the school. And what have these institutions done to repair the situation? I'm sorry. Apologies. When the last time you paid your bill with a damn I'm sorry? When the last time you paid your mortgage with I apologize? They don't do that to so-called Jewish people. They give them real tangibles. They didn't do that with Japanese Americans. They gave them real tangibles. Native Americans, the list go on and on. But with us, they give empty apologies. And who is they? Because it's not just one party. Oh, no, 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 no. Those days of pretending it's just one party is over with. And that's why they're so worried. For we was in Chicago, and you listening to the sound of my voice right now, and you tell me one time the DNC brought up reparations. We'll wait. And we saw the same thing just recently in the California reparations. Well, you have members of the Black Caucus got the number of votes, and they still did not bring reparations to the floor. But these are people that love Black people. How the hell you love Black people when you won't bring up the number one issue that's affecting my community to the floor? That doesn't make any damn sense. I know who love Black people. Brother Militia Baz loves Black people because he's fighting for reparations. I know Brother Nick Vazel loves Black people because he's fighting for reparations. I know Brother Hulk Newsom loves Black people because he's fighting for reparations. I know you for Black people when you want to fight for reparations, not push it to the side. So this is what's going to happen. If you decide you want to push it to the side, we're going to boycott you. We're going to grade you on the National Reparation Report Card at the nationalreparationleague.com. We will grade quarterly businesses, politicians. We will grade you solely on your stance on reparations. We're not going to make it up out of emotions. We're going to use your words against you. Because we can no longer sit back as human beings and watch you give attention to every single issue except reparations. So we're going to keep it as peaceful as possible, but we will affect your profits. We are boycotting, boycotting, boycotting. And we will be united on this boycott because of the devices that this white man has made. We can get this information out quickly than we ever could. Just as this meeting is happening right now in real time. We're united on this issue, and we're tired of not getting anything for our vote. You're not going to lull us to sleep just because you want us to be with a certain party. What has the Democrats done for us? I know they have not given us reparations. What has the Republicans done for us? I know they haven't given us reparations, but we got a fighter in Dr. Cornel West, who is for reparations. Some of our brothers and sisters act like they don't see it. I'm going to put my vote where the reparations is. No reparations, no vote, because we're tired of the crimes. Not going to fool this generation no more. We tried kumbaya with y'all, but now 60 years we've been doing kumbaya, holding y'all hands, singing Negro spirituals. We still ain't got reparations. But you got money for Ukraine. You got money for Israel. You came up with money for COVID. Everybody got a check for COVID. But we can't even get reparations brought to the floor. It's a new day. And the days of you politicians and you business people, the days of you thinking that you're going to get Black people support without addressing reparations is over. You won't get our vote and you won't get our money. I'll pass the mic right now. I apologize for being long-winded, but it's time to affect their pockets, and it's time we do it now.
As the summer comes to a close, all of the things that the National Reparations League has been doing. Please follow Brother Rashad and the National Reparations League on all of their platforms. This is the new way that we are able to communicate and network and make connections amongst each other because this work is serious. Brother Rashad is a serious brother, and brother does as much as he can to push this agenda forward because we are in a time now where reparations is at the very top of the agenda. Everything else is secondary. This is for the future of our people. This needs to be addressed right now. Those of you that are Gen Xers, those of you that are millennials, we are setting the pace for the Gen Zers when they pick up this mantle. Hopefully, it doesn't have to get that far. Hopefully, we can finish this thing. But if it's necessary, we got to show them how to be strong in this movement. And Brother Rashad is setting the trend. People like Brother Nick, people like Brother Hawk. And I hope we can get Attorney Malik on next, who is the consummate Gen Xer from my generation, a brother that's been putting in work since he was a teenager. Someone that's I look up to, even though he's a peer, and someone who is definitely a good role model for Brother Rashad and all of the young brothers out there. We call him the conductor of the reparations movement and the Afro-Descendant Nation. I'd like to bring forth the mighty warrior lawyer, attorney Malik Z. Shabazz, Black Lawyers for Justice, Afro-Descendant Nation. Sir, can you please give us a few words? Are you there? May not be on. Are you on your mic, sir? Okay, I'll do that introduction a second time if I have to, because he's definitely worth it. Uh, but what we're going to do now is we're going to bring on a brother who has been experienced within the boycott movement and within black activism and human rights there in his local area. Someone who brings a lot of experience and know how as it relates to this work. Uh, why boycott? Because if they're not hearing us for our on our platforms for reparation, we must agitate. We must make them feel it in as many ways as possible in order for them to hear it. This is just one strategy amongst many in this battle. And this brother brings a lot of experience, and this is something that will help to empower everyone in the chat and everyone that will be listening to this recording going forward on how we are supposed to level set and set up a strategy in order to continue and be successful with this boycott. Uh, Very impressed with this brother, and I'm sure everyone else will hear. Uh, the key thing is that he's from the same state as the current Democratic vice presidential nominee. So I know he will have something to say about that also. But we got to continue in this vein. We cannot be neglected anymore by any of these politicians. This is serious now. The
Can you
lives of
hear
our
me?
children are at stake. So, okay, before I bring
Can you
on
hear
Brother
me?
Nick, yes, sir, we do hear you, sir. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you for allowing me on. Hold 1 second. First of all, I apologize for not coming on by video. It's my birthday weekend. I'm kind of on travel, and I'm sorry about that. Let me say that. So, but let me speak up. Y'all can't hear me, right?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. We can hear you. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, pardon me, and then I thank you. Brother Rashad of the National Reparations League, and to Brother Nick Muhammad, and to you, Afro-Descendant Ali, who I call the fire and the voice and a great representative and spokesman for our wing of the reparations movement. My honors to you, and honors to the Honorable Silas Muhammad, the founder of the Afro-Descendant Nation, uh, for setting us in motion and for guiding us and for fathering this part of the movement we are a part of. So I just say briefly, Brother Rashad Singleton, he clearly he speaks for me. His tenor, uh, his position, and his fervency for reparations is my position, which appears to be a hardline position in this political hour. No reparations, no vote. No reparations, no vote. And that's not an easy position to take with a black woman running for president and with a whole lot of black people behind a black woman running for president and who has not endorsed reparations, has not spoke for reparations, and will not, unless something drastically changes, and it might, will not even be addressing the subject of reparations, as reparations is considered to be too hot of a hot potato in this hour. However, despite reparations being a taboo for the Democratic Party and too hot, still the fire for reparations will not be put out. If you look in California and other areas, the fire for reparations from mainstream quarters, not from the new Black Panther Party, not from black Muslims and black nationalists and you other red, black, and green black radicals, but we're talking about from traditional quarters, mainstream quarters, civil rights quarters, all the way out there in California. You see black women and black men going to the legislatures and the councils and the government and basically shutting it down. From my home state, in the spirit of the vice presidential candidate, Sister Queen Melina Abdullah, who we will see this week at the Congressional Black Caucus Convention. The Congressional Black Caucus Convention. I wouldn't, it's easy to make a mistake and call it it's easy to make a mistake and call it the Congressional Black Caucus Convention, because we can make another prediction that esteemed body of black legislators, congressmen, and senators, supposedly representing black people from all over America, we can almost be sure that on that platform, on that agenda, on their demands in this election, that it will not, cannot include any form or mention of reparations at all. And they have buried the program of John Conyers and even the mere study of reparations. So we're in a political environment of tensions, possibilities, and the same old realities. It's a hell of an environment we're in, and that's just why I want to open up and just analyze the environment and give a couple of recommendations, and I'll turn it over here to Brother Nick Muhammad and back to you, brothers who are on the scene, and I'll just chime in here and there as an elder OG professor. These young brothers got the spirit. And so what I'm trying to do behind the scenes is work with the spirit of these young revolutionaries, because it's going to take a revolutionary movement in order to place reparations on the agenda where we can get the action and the traction that we want. It's going to take more radical agitation. It's going to take a radical mobilization. It's going to take a more revolutionary stance amongst our organizations if our issue, our demand, our platform of full and complete reparations, if it is going to reach the national agenda, if you're going to be able to turn on CNN, NBC, MSNBC, Fox News, and everything else that's controlled by the so-called Jews, if we're going to be able to find our agenda and get through all of that madness, we are going to have to make a revolutionary breakthrough. And I believe that breakthrough is coming. I believe that in this environment right now of the election between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and the presence of Dr. Cornel West, I believe that there will be an opening. I believe that beyond joy, first of all, be on the Republican side, there are some black people and many black people that are either directly or undercover with Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump has in no way expressed any desire for any form of reparations. And according to his outlet, Fox News, if there's one sneeze, one mention of reparations, they will go buck wild and say that Kamala Harris is a radical leftist communist and she supports reparations for blacks, and that will fire up the whole MAGA base to help Trump win the election simply because they ain't forgiving niggas no reparations, including the buck dancing, handkerchief head, half baked, half fried, cooning and spooning Negroes that's with them. So you got one set of times over here with the Republican Party. Then you got another set of times over here that's running the damn Democratic Party. Now over here, they running the Joy campaign. Now they've been in office for 4 years and all of a sudden they got a new candidate that looks better, a new candidate that laughs better, a new candidate that is better, a black woman, albeit of half Indian descent. We are the original people all over the 940,000 square miles of the planet. They have a new and attractive candidate who is a better speaker with better energy and better mood and spirit. But damn it, it's the same old Democratic platform that has been around for the last 50, 60 years, ever since they abandoned segregation. It's the same old Democratic politics warmed over again. And it's got black people excited. However, that excitement is leveling off. The overjoy and excitement and the euphoria is currently leveling off and may level off even further. And I'm gonna just drop this and I gotta get off. I mean, not be on, but I'm gonna turn it over to y'all brothers on camera. But just look, this excitement right now, right? It's a false excitement. It has good in it, but it's still some bullshit. Okay, what it is that you have more joy, happiness, smiling. Miss Harris, my alma mater from Howard University graduate, who I will not be mad at her if she win the White House. I will not be mad at my Howard alumni and HU getting to the White House. However, if you look at the substance of what she's offering, it's nothing different than every other half-baked Democratic administration and president before her. But it has a black face on it. It has a smile on it. It has it's joy, and we do need joy. We do need happiness. We do need in a better mood. However, that don't last long when you ain't got bread on the table. That don't last long when the conditions in the black community remain the same. They're remaining the same despite some damn joy and some smiles. We need a permanent solution. We need a real solution. We don't need some more goddamn Band-Aids and a $25,000 credit. You're going to get a $25,000 credit on my house. Fool, you can't even buy a goddamn house. The interest rates are out of control. And you ain't got no money for the deposit. And they would just raise the damn price of the house, and then you think you got $25,000 off. No, you've being bamboozled, hoodwinked, once again, by Americanism, by democratic cracker politics too. So the people is gonna get tired of the dancing and the smiling in a minute, and niggas, so-called niggas, is finna wake up. And they're saying, I gotta have something real. I gotta have something substantive. And they're gonna be listening to the Afrodescendant nation. They're gonna be listening to the National Reparations League. They're gonna be listening to Attorney Shabazz and the students of Silas Muhammad and those that are talking about real change when all of this bullshit, pardon my language, I'm sorry, but all of this smoke and mirrors and mystery God and whatever this is wiped out, because it's going to be wiped out because it ain't got no substance to it. And so I say that the ball is coming to us. The things are swinging in our favor. They better listen to the Honorable Dr. Cornel West. They better try to sit down with him fast. They better concede. I'm talking to the Democratic Party, really. They need to concede fast to Dr. Cornel West's positions on the genocide in Gaza and reparations. They must seriously should capitulate and give him everything he wants, and hoping that he won't hold up the whole damn show. He won't hold up the whole show, because in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Ohio and Arizona and Nevada and Virginia and all of these battleground states, every damn vote will matter. And as this honeymoon period is over and they get serious about the election, they better wake up. These students are going to rise up. These students are rising up this fall, and they're going to be demanding an end to this genocide, and they're going to tie up these damn streets. And this reparations movement should get hot, need to get hot, so it can shut down and attack some of these damn banks, companies, and corporations, and otherwise represent the liberation movement. We don't just represent a single issue. We represent the whole liberation movement and our aims in the liberation movement. Man, I can go on, but I'm finna turn it over to the young brothers, and that's what I got to drop. I'm hoping y'all are be inspired with it. We got to build all over the nation. We got to build like we're building in Washington, D.C., alliances and united fronts all over the nation. We got to take over our local communities with some self-determination, some Black power, some Black nationalism, because when this corrupt politics falls, all of these nationalist coalitions can link up all over the country, and we'll run the damn Black politics, because the Democratic Party is going to drop niggas one way or another. And they're going to drop some niggas in the fall. If they win, they're going to drop niggas. They're going to say, now we in, niggas, now sit down. Because we got to have a deal over here. We got to govern. If they lose, shit, it's all bets off anyway. So the bottom line to it is we got to build, prepare, build alliances, keep building up our ranks, our alliances, keep it hot like we're keeping it, because the ball is coming to us. And we're going to return the goddamn kickoff for a touchdown on this cracker. And that's all I got to say in opening up. Thank you for tolerating. You're welcome. You're welcome. Great work you do, brother. You're great inspiration.
All right. Here we go.
We hear
Can
you,
everyone
man. We
hear me?
hear you.
Okay, you can
We
hear
hear
me
you.
on the Zoom. In the chat, they couldn't hear me. The mic was off. But thank you, everyone. Truly appreciate everyone in the chat. Please, please, please drop your ats, drop your emails, drop your information. Go to our website, Afrodescendant.org. Brothers doing the great work with the Black Men's Movement. We want to see that movement national. So with that said, in that vein, we see Attorney Malik is fired up about this election. As we saw in the chat, we heard a little Dr. Khaled come out of him. That it sent chills through me just now. So we know what time it is when the ancestors start speaking through us here. And this is where we are right now. So we definitely want to pay attention and use the election to fire people up for the issues that mean something. And reparations is something that means something. And the next brother I want to bring up, as I stated before, brother Nick Muhammad is doing great work, has done great work in the state of Minnesota. He knows something on a local level what VP candidate Walsh is truly about as someone that's been able to observe him very closely. So we hope he's able to provide us insights and the reason that we want him to do that so we can know the seriousness of the moment and why we should participate in a reparations boycott and advocate for reparations. We're bringing this to you to empower you in this movement. We're just people just like you. There's no the one anymore. We have to do it as a family, and we have to do this collectively. We have to do this in unity, and we have to be able to use the mechanisms that are in place, such as the internet, such as the things that are available to us to be able to connect and push this thing forward. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring on Brother Nick Muhammad, who will bring some enlightening information on how we can put this thing together. So, with that said, Brother Nick, you can start with your presentation. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Ali. I appreciate the invitation from the Afro-Descendant Nation. Brother Singleton, Brother Shabazz, Elder Shabazz, appreciate you all creating this space and holding space for people to be informed. My name is Nick Muhammad, and as Brother Ali said, I'm a resident in Minnesota by way of Indianola, Mississippi. And I've been working in the political scene, activist scene, and artist scene in the city for almost 20 years. Just a few things for us to understand. I'm not very good at small talk. You know, I don't do the speeches. I don't do the rah-rah. I get down to strategy, business, and implementation and outcomes. And one thing that I've learned in the 20 years of doing political advocacy in the state of Minnesota and in a few initiatives across the country is that you get what you ask for. You get what you're prepared for. And anything that you're prepared for, you usually have an agenda around and a guiding set of demands and a guiding set of principles and a vision that's easily communicatable to everybody who has that vested interest in your community. And the reason I'm highlighting that is because I'm not just looking for reparations flatly as something that these politicians need to come out and say with their mouth that they're going to support. There's been great initiatives all across the country that have actual written plans and strategies, none of which have been engaged by either party publicly as to considering these plans that are written out that have, some of them are just aspirations about, you know, correcting historical wrongs. Some of them are asking for cash payments. Some of them are asking for different concessions along the lane of taxes, resources, whatever have you. Brother Singleton was talking about boycotts, targeting Wells Fargo, banks and institutions that have historical blood on their hands and blood money in their coffers and literally have benefited from the institution of slavery. And let's not forget about the private prison institution and the war on drug institutions and the myriad of public policies that have decimated the Black community. All of those things need to be considered into an actual reparations plan. What I would like to do more of are actual working meetings where we come together on a regional basis and everybody is able to actually do a power mapping of the institutions, banks, political officials, and organizations within their regions and figure out a grievance plan that covers the entire country. We used to have these kind of meetings back in the early 80s and the 90s where Black folks would get together, minister, and whoever else was interested in advocating for the Black community and had a vested interest in a good reputation, or at the very least, a reputation they had to uphold to our community. And there was no prying eyes of people telling us who was appropriate and inappropriate to attend these meetings, and all ideas were expressed. In 2024, we can't afford to continue to do studies. In 2024, I'm taking people at their word. People have already stated, for the record, within the Democratic Party that they do not want to deal with reparations for the Black community. I'm not going to waste time trying to convince someone that they need to do such. The Black community in and of itself, we need to make sure that we begin to adopt our own policies and initiatives that we put forth on a regional level. We're inside of the Democratic Party voting in the 80 and 90 percentile. And to put that into context, white people who are on both sides of the political spectrum don't vote in 80 and 90 percentile for themselves. This makes sense strategically inside of a so-called republic or democracy because you have vested interests. Everybody doesn't think the same. Everybody doesn't live the same. So you should have a strategy on both sides of the aisle. And there's a lot of people who don't want to hear this. However, I do believe in that old proverb and adage that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. Look at the outcomes of the Black community in your nearest state. Ask yourself, what governance has this community been under? And if that governing political body has not fixed the problems that have been in your community, more than likely, not only all of your life, but your parents' lives, you have to ask yourself, why are you fully dedicated to someone giving you nothing? When we target banks, institutions, it's very important that we understand who we're talking to and what they're capable of doing. Brother Singleton was expressing how he's grading politicians, grading banking institutions, and letting people know what's going on and what they're guilty of when it comes to the beneficiaries of slavery that are still here in modern times. Now, the irony is we're having a hard enough time getting Black folk to stand up for the interests of Black folk. We're talking about a presidential election that won't even say the word reparation in either camp or either party. And we're still standing in support and raising and putting money into the pockets of people who haven't even uttered a single commitment to a single platform for our community. Meanwhile, you have an influx of people coming into the country who Biden, with a stroke of a pen, was able to allocate a minimum of $4 billion a year to subsidize people. You have people who are outcrying in the state of Illinois and Chicago because their quality of life has literally been unaddressed for decades. And they have people coming in, snatching resources that up until that point, we were told were nowhere to be found and completely unavailable. Now, the Black community has to ask itself a question. If the party in charge is creating and sustaining this dynamic, why are we acting like at the end of the day, it doesn't behoove us to change the way that we engage with them, to change our demands? If we use Wells Fargo alone has over $1.7 trillion with a T under management annually. And that's just one bank. The assets under management of all the black banks combined barely breaks $80 billion annually. And boycotts are great, but we're in 2024. We also have to be mindful that there's a myriad of different things that we should be paying attention to. The world is advancing as we sit here and speak. There's things that we need to be aware of. There's other strategies we need to be engaging. Speaking of the banks, right now, there's a fight in Congress for a lot of the banks to literally begin to do a transition away from fiat currency into a digital currency. And one of the fights going on is about how do we come up with a digital currency that the world can agree on that will allow border-to-border payments, person-to-person payments without a physical dollar, without the ability for governments to manipulate, to control inflation and deflation, and stabilize the American economy, who is swimming, actually drowning in debt. Every 3 months, we take on over $1 trillion more debt, which is going to be paid and laid upon the head of us and our descendants. And right now, they're wrestling with new innovations that would literally create new avenues of revenue to stabilize the country. Why doesn't our reparations initiative have any dog in the fight to make sure that those said assets, whatever they become, a portion is allocated directly to the Black community? While we sitting up here fighting over things and trying to figure out where the money's going to come from, they print the money out of thin air. Part of the problem. And as we've learned with the Ukraine and with the war going on in Israel, they do it when they feel like it. So the fact that we haven't received anything is because they don't feel like giving your Black behind nothing. We're not in a honeymoon phase with anyone. Honeymoons are for committed relationships, married people. We're treated like side pieces. And we need to wake up. There's a stake in this country that we have. It's our birthright. We've earned, we've paid for in blood, God-given. And if we don't start thinking outside of the box of rhetoric and catchphrases and buzzwords and come up with real plans and real demands that reflect that we even understand how government and economics works on a national level, we're just twiddling our thumbs, and more importantly, we're failing future generations. If you think the wealth gap between Black folks and the white Americans is bad now, wait until everything goes digital. White people are worried about the adoption of things like AI, wiping out almost 80% of a lot of jobs across the globe. This is a problem everyone is bracing for that's aware of it. Why don't our conversations reflect those kind of innovations and factors? If we're going to talk statistics, those are things that affect the outcome. So we need to have all meaningful data, strategies, tactics, and information put into the mix of the conversation for sound economic policies and plans. That's why I'm here. That's what I'm fighting for. Tangibles. I'm here to work on the engine. We could talk about how fast or how slow these models are later, but we need to get things moving. Too many of us are personalities, but we don't have any substance. We don't have any plans. Education was mentioned. There used to be a time where our elders had to hide the fact that they could read, but they would read almost anything they could get their hands on in order to educate themselves so that they had utility, capacity to do things themselves. George Washington Carver was a self-made scientist. If we're going to invoke the past, compare the past capacity of our elders and our ancestors and what they could do to what we do today. Those same boycotts were being led by children and families that had sound communities, value systems that allowed them to be able to make those movements successful. And we're not honest about how we exist on a value-based system, a moral-based system, how we treat one another. Look at how our entertainment is literally railroading our children into some of the most useless mindsets and destructive mindsets for $1. And we all know that the young Black faces being propped up spewing this garbage are being paid for by record executives who've been robbing, raping, and pillaging us since the inception of the business. And we still have done zero politically, policy-wise, to regulate that industry. And that's one of the main avenues that a lot of us resort to. Prince sat on national television with slave written across his face, and no one changed a single law to prevent what happened to him from happening to future artists. And that's just art. We've lost farmland. We've lost a myriad of different things through policy. And I'm not saying that we don't need to advocate and we don't need to boycott, and some of those things aren't useful to raise awareness. However, when we go into that political arena, you need to have political weaponry. You need to have an economic plan, economic weaponry. No one is scared of a broke, dysfunctional opponent. And fear is only invoked from the strong to the weak. If fear was there, they'd be coming to us about what we want. The fact that we're ignored shows that there is zero fear coming from this administration or any other administration that we've been dealing with. We need to wake up. The only fear that's being perpetrated is between ourselves to each other about what white folk gonna do if we say such and such and so and so. If we outside of the club and we're not going along to get along, or we're not getting in line and waiting with our hat in our hand for our chance and opportunity for them to throw us some crumbs and don't rock the boat, boy. That's the mentality, and that's the only fear that I see. So if we want real change, we need to start literally breaking down things from an engineer's standpoint. Engineers don't sit around and marvel at how something's broken and just say, wow, that's broken. They sit around and say, I wonder how it broke. What were the levels that created the stress? What failed? How does the gears work? How do we take it apart to examine it to see if it can be improved? Or do we need to throw the entire thing out and come up with an entirely different model? That's the realm of thinking we need to be operating from. We have more graduates and college-educated people in our community than we ever had since the end of slavery. And we have some of the largest deficits across the country in our community and lack of power ever. How in the world are we outperformed by people who didn't have a fraction of the accolades and resource in 2024? Our ancestors will fall out if they had a device in their pocket. They could ask dang near any question and get answers. And what do we do with it? Sit on social media and run our mouths. So in the course of reparations, when it comes to reparations, I would like to see far more action. When it comes to the elections, we need to start asking, or better yet, before we even talk election, we need an agenda. We need a list of valid demands We don't have to be a monolith to agree on a list of primary demands and resources. We just watched this government literally quadruple the national debt, running the money printer, and not a dang nickel went into our community. And we accepted it. And because it's a new national election, all of a sudden we think something's going to change, and we still haven't made a demand. And last time I checked, the old proverb was, power concedes nothing without a demand. So I would urge us to take the time to look into your own heart and ask yourself, how can you personally improve your capacity, and what do you want to deliver? And I don't care what you do, as long as you're doing something, share what you know, work with the coalition of the willing. Don't be scared to add something that might not be in your wheelhouse. One thing I've learned working in this state, there's almost 7 million white folks in the state of Minnesota and barely 400,000 Black people. When we go to the Capitol to try to get things done, most of the representatives in that Capitol do not look like us. But we fought for several pieces of legislation, and one of the ones that I'm most proud of, spearheaded by my good friend and sister, Khalees Houston, and Village Arms, and my brother Thomas Berry, was the African American Family Preservation Act. It was a bill to reduce out-of-home disparities of Black children into the Minnesota Child Protective Services foster care system. It's a racket. And Black mothers were being singled out, isolated, and literally having their babies stripped away and sent to abusive homes for thousands of dollars per month to those foster care parents just because they wanted to make the money. And when we finally got the bill passed, it was a coordination between both sides of the aisle to get it done after a 7-year fight. And even after we got the bill signed, we still have to sit back and work to make sure that the implementation of the bill doesn't preclude fathers for having a criminal record, so that they can actually step in just in case they need to help the mother for out-of-home placement, or in some cases, fathers for out-of-home placement. We don't assume anyone is our friend, and we don't assume everybody is our enemy. We have interest, and that's how we move. Do you share the interest in the bills that we're putting forth? If so, we can talk. If not, let's move it along. That's the disposition of a mature political mind, a mature economic mind. People have shown us who they've been, and we continue to deal with them like they are friends when they've showed us they don't care. So I would encourage everybody to do that inventory. Ask yourself, how do we build an agenda in our state and our city? And when we get on these calls, we need to be sharing those ideas and consolidate it until we get a national agenda. And then there's some people who've been doing the great work that already have agendas. And just because my name ain't on it don't mean I can't read it to see if I want to support it. We don't all have to lead and be the one. But we got to stop acting like nothing is going on. There's several great initiatives going on, but we need to learn how to make sure that we're consolidating some of these efforts so we're not duplicating the wheel, so we can get an agenda moved upon and put in front of some of these people. And then on the back end, when it comes to boycotting good brother Singleton, we got to make sure that on a local level, the boycotts hurt way more than the national level. There's certain companies we can literally grind to a halt. But we have to have sound policy recommendations, sound economic organization. There's plenty of resource out there. It's just not a lot of good aggregation going on. Everybody's siloed. You got a bunch of loose fingers in a boxing match. We need to come together. That includes all of us. from the streets to the most affluent. And some of us need to get out of this club mentality, the talented 10th% mind state, thinking that they got all the solutions, but nothing is changing. And we're going on decades. We ain't spring chickens no more. And we have a younger generation behind us who we owe it to get it right and to put them on real game and not have them wasting time just doing empty gestures of symbolism. But I appreciate y'all starting the conversation. I'd be more than willing to have the conversation going forward, but I like to deal with metrics. That's why I threw out certain things about the banks, things that I know, the percentages of the party. These are things that we need to consider when we're talking about strategy and reparations. And I'll leave it there.
We saw that in the last few years that there were a lot of funds released to the community as a result to an incident that happened in your state there with the George Floyd protests that erupted internationally. Um, so just wanted to get your feedback on your opinion on the Governor Walz and some of the things that he was able to do in the aftermath of the George Floyd incident and the protests, and what do you think? Do you think that it was favorable to Black people in your state?
The short answer is, unfortunately, we missed the opportunity to lead the country in how to repair aspects of the Black community and address police brutality through policy and implementation. We had almost $100 million flow into the state, earmarked to support groups and organizations to deal with everything from police brutality to disparities in the Black community, including another initiative from the federal government that was dealing with the COVID pandemic. Because you got to think, when George Floyd happened, we were also going through COVID at the same time. So we had that going on, civil unrest, and a national pandemic all in the same year in the same city. And mind you, George Floyd was just the latest, and he wasn't even the last national incident in the state of Minnesota. Before him, we had Philando Castile, Jamar Clark, we had Terrence Franklin. There was a number of Black men unarmed, gunned down by the police in the state of Minnesota, and he was just the latest. Dante after him, Dante Wright. All of the money that came in actually didn't go to any organization that had Black heterosexual males. We were literally told that they were trying to break the norm. And there were people who weren't even from the city who moved here and made a name for themselves, were put on the cover of Newsweek and national magazines, interviewed, the whole nine. And we haven't heard a peep from these people. And we haven't seen a single one of those nickels actually applied to the community or legacy organizations. NAACP can't account for that money. The Urban League can't account for that money because none of those institutions and organizations were even engaged. The reality is, if you look at the quality of life metrics for Black people in the state of Minnesota, we have some of the highest disparities between whites and Blacks in the country, yet we have one of the smallest Black populations in the country, and we're home to the same state where if you happen to be a white family, you actually have one of the greatest quality of lives by all measures. Now, obviously, with the state of the economy right now, everybody's feeling the squeeze. But there's been resources that should have been allocated that we still have yet to account for. There's been several initiatives that have been put forth that were direct responses to what happened with George Floyd that have received zero funding. I know about the 12 Watch app and a few other things that were literally innovations to try to create transparency of the police department, so the power was put back into the people's hand to know exactly who the officer was that was pulling them over in real time, and send out alerts to the family members of these stops in order to increase transparency and accountability. And that particular initiative, not a nickel. They can't even get a call back from the groups that pretend to be for Black people, and they'll bring a lot of BIPOC people in. So you'll have a hodgepodge group of people who are from diverse backgrounds, and they'll use this acronym. And because that acronym is in use and you have diversity, they're pretending as if the presence of diversity actually translates into solving the problems for the Black community. And quite frankly, it doesn't. So, and Waltz could speak to that himself. He's been wrestling with these disparities and these challenges his entire time that he's been here. He just now signed the African American Family Preservation Act into law, and it hasn't even been implemented yet. And they're already trying to figure out ways to undercut the spirit of the law and trying to push non-custodial fathers, Black fathers, back out of the home and back out of the equation when the bill fought to actually get them included. And those quality of life metrics have not been addressed. So, from my vantage point, Governor Walz doesn't have a whole lot of success dealing with Black people in closing any disparities in the state, let alone stabilizing the state, Black people in the state. So on a national level, I'm left to wonder, what are we supposed to expect when the quality of life for Black people in the state of Minnesota has not reflected any improvement since his tenure?
Thank you for that insight. Truly appreciate it. To the chat, please drop your questions. We are going to close out shortly, but we want to pose any questions to the panelists before we let them go. Especially Attorney Malik, we know he's listening in. We want to get him off here so he can enjoy his birthday weekend. So truly appreciate it. I want to pose one question to everyone on the panel here, and anyone can start off here. Um, how how important is identity in the entire process of us pursuing reparations in bringing about unity? Do we see any issues of identity as it relates to our unity? But just wanted to get firsthand your thoughts on identity in the entire process, because we here at the Afro-Descendant Nation, we are an international organization. We pursue reparations and human rights from an international perspective, where we have established the Honorable Saz Muhammad has established the Afro descendant identity with 19 other countries throughout the slavery diaspora. And we just want to get your feedback on how important is identity in this process in bringing us together and being able to do some of the engineer like work that you're talking about, brother Nick. And anyone can take that away.
Oh, okay. Can y'all hear me, fam?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely, we at the National Reparation League, we believe lineage-based reparations. Are we for our reparations globally, our brothers in Kenya, Mozambique, South Africa? Of course. However, when have we had a considerable effort directed to ourselves? You see, this is the problem. We can't even get Black organizations to support solely our reparations. Um, You know, there was a lot of us that was happy and proud that President Obama became our president. However, President Obama dropped the ball on reparations. Now imagine, brothers and sisters, us going to Kenya, rising up the ranks of politics and becoming the leader of Kenya. And then you, as a Black American, tell Kenyan what they don't deserve. You never heard of such a thing. Imagine, brothers and sisters, you went to Jamaica, rose to the rank of politics in Jamaica, and you told Jamaican, I ain't doing nothing specifically for Jamaica. You see, nobody wants to do something specifically for Black Americans, us so-called African Americans, so-called Israelites, whatever you want to subscribe to, the descendants of chattel slavery and Jim. We are a nation within a nation. And when we're dealing with reparation, because they made it not, they basically made it illegal to make it race-based. The importance of identity has never been more crucial. We have to know that they put Negro on those papers. We have to know that they put freedmen on those papers. That we had a freedmen's bank that was mismanaged by white folks, and they wandered and just wasted millions of dollars that would be billions of dollars. So when we get reparations and we approach it from a lineage base, they can't say, oh, y'all just want to do something for Black. No, we're talking about specific things. We're talking about a specific group of people. And when we keep it lineage based, we ain't got to worry about people that look like us trying to get what belongs to us. That's no hate. That's just doing things the right way. Can you imagine a Scottish person talking about, I want some reparations because I'm white? You know, it don't work like that. So lineage, nationality, all of this is crucial when we're dealing with legalities, and our brothers, our brother Nick and brother Shabazz, they know we have to do it. It ain't gonna be no cheating the court system. It has to be done the right way. So lineage and nationality is crucial, and that helps get ahead of the race-based argument. Now, we don't want just reparations for Black Americans. We want reparations for the nation of Black Americans who you enslaved. We didn't call ourselves freedmen. They called us. I'll drop the mic there, brothers.
Thank you for that. And shout out to the freedmen in the chat. The identity is definitely important. And on the international level, Afrodescendant being the identity, 250 million strong, makes us one of the largest top 4 groups of people on the planet Earth. And it's definitely something that should be placed on the agenda as we move forward in terms of as being the unifier, and what most people in the movement can agree on is that lineage must play a role in the acquisition of reparations. And shout out to Curtis Murphy in the chat, who brought up the point that we didn't give our consent to be enslaved, nor did we give our consent to be under the jurisdiction of the United States as citizens. We have never, and that falls under self-determination. We have never been allowed to determine whether or not we should be U.S. citizens at all in the first place. So that is something that definitely must be placed on the agenda going forward as we discuss reparations, human rights, and independence. We have no questions in the chat, but I do want to give a last go round so everyone can promote everything that you have going on right now and some of the great work so we can stay connected to you and we can move forward. Brother Rashad, anything you'd like to promote before we close out?
Yes, family. Thank you so much, Brother Ali. Again, brother, just grateful to be in the space. You can follow us at National Reparations League, Instagram and Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter at reparations_NRL. You can always get your National Reparation League shirt, putting fear in these white folks' faces. When they see that, they see organization. That's not me saying it. I'm telling you what I've been told on a daily basis. When they see this shirt, they know that this is a organization, not somebody that think reparations is cool. Whatever it be, the print, I don't know. It just puts fear in their eyes, and I love it every time I see it because I want them to know that just because you might have lulled the previous generations to sleep on a couple of issues in regards to reparations, you won't do it to us. And I love being a 7-foot black man fighting for reparations, as I want to call on other athletes. Don't just play basketball, brother, and rebound. Get in the fight for reparations. What would it do to see a bunch of 6'9", 6'10", 7-footers supporting reparations? Where is our NFL brothers at on the issue of reparations? We got Major League Baseball player. Where's the Major League Baseball player that's going hard for reparations? All of this has to be brought to the fore. You can also get the books that we've written, The Hypocrisy of Democracy, how the American Dream became the African American Nightmare. We also have Odes to the Black Queen, God's Greatest Creation. And we also have Arise, Brother, This is a Call to Black King. All of these books and more can be found on Amazon or any of our links on our social media. Thank you again, brothers, for the time. Let's keep it consistent, family. Reparations and white supremacy. I always say white supremacy don't stop, so this fight for reparations. It's a 24/7 thing. That means we got to go 24/8. Thank you, brother.
Peace. Thank you. Thank you. Brother Nick?
Yes, sir. Just a quick note. My organization authored a bill in the state of Minnesota called the ADOS Reparative Justice Fund and Department. It's basically a proposal for the establishment of an interest-bearing account to the tune of billions. And the idea is to set up an ongoing, sustained revenue stream of investment and a pool of resource that goes directly into the community and allocate to about 7 sectors of development. Was authored by our now Senate President Bobby Joe Champion, and in the Senate, State Senate, and then in the House we have Representative Frazier as the second author. And that bill is a model that we're striving to see if we can get established here in the state of Minnesota and possibly be able to run a beta test where we're able to have a working model that would actually be sustained and something that could be ongoing indefinitely to begin to address some of the disparity rates. We love to be able to work with people to sit down and talk about how the model is developed and how we actually built it and the impact of it. And we think that that's one of the things that needs to be added to the reparations initiatives across the country. I'm also one of the commissioners in the City of St. Paul Reparative Justice Initiative developed for St. Paul Recovery Act, spearheaded by Brother Traherne Cruz, who's been working very diligently on a municipal level. And just as a tidbit of information for people that they might not know as far as our sovereignty in this country, there was an actual document. It was called General Sherman Special Field Order Number 15. I think most people need to go back and read those 6 acts that were designated to the freedmen after the Civil War. We actually had land allocated, and it was stated in that document that we had complete sovereignty of the area that was designated. And at the moment and at that time, we were supposed to start off kind of like Israel ended up in the Gaza Strip with a designated set of land. And over time, the idea was for us to spread across the South and develop our own independent nation. And that's a buried document, but hopefully, if you can still Google it and they haven't buried it in the algorithm, you can pull it up and read those 6 acts. Inside of that act, which is tantamount to a treaty, which was issued by General Sherman after the war, signed by President Lincoln, and ratified by Congress. That's a treaty, ladies and gentlemen. That's a legal binding contract and document establishing the sovereignty of Black folks and what was actually achieved, and to quote the language, through an act of war. So it acknowledged that we freed ourselves and we were able to actually establish that we were to be respected as a free and sovereign nation. And if we don't go back and read those state documents, those binding documents that acknowledge who and what we were and are, we're going to reinvent the wheel that doesn't need to be reinvented and create a mountain where we really could have a hill. So it does exist. And there was a lot of great work that was done. But look up General Sherman Special Field Order number 15. Read those 6 acts. Those need to become a part of the basis of our national address and redress to the federal government.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Dr. Brooks Robinson in the chat. Please visit his website. Great Black economist, Dr. Brooks Robinson at blackeconomics.org. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. I also want to give a shout out to Sister Mecca Shabazz. Thank you for the super chat, $20. Truly appreciate it. Please support the work of the Afrodescendant Nation. You can drop a donation in the super chat, or you can go to afrodescendant.org/donate. Thanks again, Sister Mecca. I wanted to close it out with conductor Attorney Malik Shabazz. Do you have any words for us, sir? Are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, to close out briefly, I want to say that to those that are listening and those that would hear this broadcast, to be encouraged and to embrace optimism in our fight. Embrace optimism in our fight. Pardon me, somebody calling in on here. Optimism over pessimism. We are in a time right now of great opportunity. We are in a time right now where that government that the Honorable Silas Mohammed has prophesied and that Honorable Imari Obadeli gave his life for, that government of our own, of those that are serious about full and complete reparations, pardon me, that those that are really serious about complete independence, self-determination, that which is called full and complete reparations, we are in that time where the wheat and the tare are being separated, and that those that want to capitulate and go along with Americanism are being made manifest. And this is another opportunity for those that believe in a nation of our own, justice and complete liberation, have an opportunity to actually establish that. And so I'm still saying that the leadership, Brother Rashad Singleton of the National Reparations League and the Afro-Descendant Nation. Now our unity is a great example, but it must be more of that. You know, as we go into this presidential election, the expectation would be that all of those that are fighting for full and complete reparations would be engaging closely in that type of activity as leaders, as a government of our own, that we would be in heavy coordination and communication and legislation to be pushing for full and complete reparations. Okay, even if we haven't met that goal right now, y'all still hearing me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just want to make sure I'm still on. Am I still on?
Yes,
No.
sir. You're on.
Okay, so let me cut to the chase because it all depends on the movement. Any idea or proposition or proposal must be delivered upon the technology of a movement or a structure that will carry it. A movement, a structure, a coalition, a body of leaders. Uh, Similar to the way that actually bears some similarity to the way that bears similarity to the way America's founding fathers, white men, got together to decide how they were going to resolve their differences as colonists and unite for the United Snakes of America. And even though they united they were wicked deeds against us and they were righteous deeds for their own people. I mean, this is the stage of development where we must push right now. This is the opportunity. This is the optimism. The leaders of our tribes and the leaders of our nation and organizations, those are serious, must accelerate the process of our unity and actions that bear witness to our unity, and we must accelerate the hashing out of ideas and proposals and be before the nation like any other political entity in handling our business. There are many, many different proposals and subgroups of MAGA, but at the end of the day, they have a candidate and they have a damn 3 or 4 point platform. To hell with the immigrants, make America great, keep niggas down, and F the Democrats. And they have decided on that. They've rallied their coalition, and for whatever purposes they're doing it, they're kicking some ass. And the Democrats with their crazy coalition. It's a crazy coalition, but whatever it is, they raising them some billions and they carrying out the Democratic Party politics. We have a chance. We have an opportunity. Those that believe in the red, black, and green, those that believe in reparations, those that believe in Malcolm, Elijah teachings, Afro-descendants, all of us, whatever we call ourselves, this is our chance. So I'm just saying as I conclude that I, on behalf of the Afro-descendant nation, my line is open and my ability to participate is open for those that want to build and continue to build a movement and government of our own. Right now, the Afro-descendant nation and the National Reparations League is finishing a letter tonight. We're finishing a letter and we're asking at least 20 to 25 Black organizations that stand for reparations to sign onto a letter that is demanding a meeting with presidential candidate Kamala Harris on the subject of full and complete reparations. We want to meet with her right away, and we want to pin her down on this issue. And we want to show that we as a movement have some power to pin a presidential candidate down and that we are not a weak movement that does not have power. We got to get out of the stage of being a movement that is just complaining and goddamn throwing down and making people answer. That's where I'm at in my stage of career. And I'm reaching out to everybody on this broadcast and everybody that's listening and certainly my guests. Now, we want y'all to sign on to the letter that we are put a strong letter that Brother Rashad and his staff with my consultation have put together. And we need 100. But we don't want to waste a lot of time debating. We Negroes want to debate all damn day. But we're putting a body of leaders together that will sign off, and we want immediately to flush out Harris's and Trump's. The letters going to both candidates, Harris and Trump's position on reparations, and we want to throw down the gauntlet to them to force them to either have the meeting or to deny the meeting. And we got a plan, and by God's grace, hopefully we move fast. So I appreciate everything that's been said, and like Minister Malcolm X, I want some fast action, and I'm looking to get some strong action with other revolutionaries that want some action. And right now, we see some traction being gained through forcing the issue of Harris meeting with the reparations organizers right away. If we can get that on the national agenda and make that a campaign issue, that'll be a coup. If we're strong enough to agree and everybody agree on a simple letter and we can hash it out like we some founding fathers and some real brothers and sisters that got sense, we can all sign off on a letter and approve it without a bunch of damn arguing and get it out there and force this issue on the national horizon. We're going to be all the better for it. Because once again, as I close, all of this is going to crash and burn and fade away one way or another. If Trump wins the elections, wake up call, Negroes. You ain't got nothing but us. If Harris win the election, they're going to be happy for a minute, but they're going to say, damn, we ain't really getting nothing. So the better we are to get our agenda out there and be prepared and organized and show that we have a third alternative and that we mean business, just like them Palestinian students out there shutting it down for Palestine on these campuses. The faster we can show we're organized and mean business, and that when we say something, somebody gonna answer us, the better off we'll be. And I'm here for it on behalf of the Afro-Descendant Nation and Black Lawyers for Justice. I thank y'all for being on the call and Black Power reparations by any means necessary.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. And please visit our website, Afrodescendant.org, where you will learn that the term Afrodescendant represents more than just a label. It is a powerful acknowledgement of a shared history, struggles, and resilience of descendants of enslaved Africans across the Americas by recognizing the collective trauma of forced displacement, cultural erasure, and the loss of fundamental human rights. This identity can serve as a foundation for unified action. Adopting the Afro-descendant identity will empower efforts towards a reparatory justice and self-determination and foster a sense of global solidarity among all all descendants of enslaved African people in the Americas. Peace, family. We'll see you on the battlefield. Thank you to all the panelists. We will see you next time. Peace.
Recording stopped.